ми розпочинаємо серію дискусійних панелей нашого форуму і просимо панелістів зайняти свої місця і надаємо слово модератору панелі. Але перед цим я озвучу наших панелістів і прошу їх підійти до нас сюди, щоб ми мали змогу вімкнути гарнітури. Ми чекаємо Тимофія Мілованова, київська... Вибачте, Тимофій Мілованов. Ваші оплески. Чекаємо Дмитра Сологуба, заступника голови НБУ. Ваші оплески. Тімоті Еш, що представляє компанію Nomura, буде з нами на скайп-зв'язку. Також ми чекаємо Володимира Осаковського, Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Андрія Павліченкова, що представляє Nordwand Capital. Сергія Ягніча, Укрсіббанк BNP Paribas. Та Олександра Вальчишина, керівника аналітичного департамента компанії ICU. Ваші оплески. Зараз ми маємо 2 хвилини, щоб вімкнути наші гарнітури, та будемо розпочинати нашу першу дискусійну панель. Для початку цієї панелі ми надаємо слово модератору Тимофію Милованову, виконуючому обов'язки президента Київської школи економіки, співзасновникові Vox Ukraine та доценту Пітсбурзького університету. Ваші оплески. Це перша панель нашого форуму. Ми розпочинаємо.
Доброго дня. Доброго дня, учасники панелі, доброго дня, аудиторія, доброго дня, глядачі. У нас дуже важлива тема панелі. Нам потрібно поговорити про те, як поєднати політики, які приведуть до економічного зростання в Україні, з політиками, які не допустять дестабілізації, економічної і політичної дестабілізації в Україні. Досить великою ціною була досягнута макроекономічна стабілізація, частково через адміністративні методи, частково через досить жорсткі економічні методи. І для того, щоб ринки почали працювати, необхідно економіку запустити. Необхідно трохи відходити від цих методів. Але це створює ризик дестабілізації. Як знайти баланс? Як знайти оптимальний мікс? Як поєднання різних політик, економічних і політичних для України? Це є сьогодні тема нашої панелі. Я би хотів відкрити панель з відеовключення Тімоті Еш, якщо Тімоті Еш вже є онлайн. Будь ласка.
Итак, уважаемые гости, мы делаем скайп-звонок Тимоти Эшу.
Morning.
Good morning. Hello, Timothy. Can you hear us? Tim, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Great.
I can hear you.
So we have a question for you. I personally and other people have seen you asking Ukrainians about their big idea about how to sell Ukraine to foreign investors. I would like to ask you, what do you think would be the big idea for Ukraine to sell itself to foreign investors? Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, look, certainly huge apologies to start with. I was meant to be there. Unfortunately, Moody's downgraded Turkey this week and I have to stay in the office in London. But, you know, good morning, Odessa. This is a great event. Congratulations to Roman and the team for putting it together, and I would have loved to be there. So, certainly apologies. You know, I guess... very good question. Many of you know I work for Nomura. Our interest in Ukraine is primarily from a trading perspective in terms of we trade Eurobonds, We trade foreign currency. Nomura, we don't actually physically invest in countries typically, unless we decide to buy a bank in a country, but that's very unlikely. We're an international investment bank. And my client base is essentially institutional investors, so pension funds, hedge funds, and they may provide financing essentially to Ukrainian banks and companies. So they're important, but they're very unlikely to physically invest inside the country. So when we talk about business environment, probably I'm not the best person to talk to. I'm not on the front end. But business environment is important because I think institutional investors, what they like, what they look at, is macro stability and long-term growth. And clearly, the business environment is really critical in terms of long-term growth. What I want to do, just to give my perspective of Ukraine, and if that's okay. I think what's interesting is the difference in domestic and external interpretations. I think in life everything is about expectations. I think if you're Ukrainian and you're looking at the situation, you're obviously living on the hard end. You probably don't see significant change, and your expectations were very high. I guess after Euromaidan, you expected the country to be transformed overnight, and everything. I guess you see are the difficulties, which is I understand. I don't live in Ukraine, and obviously there's been a huge amount of pain and austerity, a deep recession. There was high inflation, and so you've seen the pain of change, but you haven't actually seen any meaningful improvements, and I can kind of understand that. And I guess many Ukrainians feel disappointed in that. I guess the interesting thing externally, if you read as a foreigner, if you don't visit Ukraine very often, you read the Financial Times, you read some international media. The outside impression typically is very negative, actually. Typically, the focus is on, the easy things for journalists to focus on is which is typically the problem. So, corruption, war, conflict, collapse of trade, all those kind of things. And I think partially, there are many people outside that I think want Ukraine to fail, or there's, it's easy for perhaps international donors who don't want to give significant, or bilateral donors who don't want to give significant amounts of money to Ukraine, to suggest that Ukraine's this black hole, it's unreformable, there's no point giving Ukraine any financing because inevitably it's going to end in corrupt schemes. In reality, I think the truth is somewhere between those, and I think it's important to try and get the right perspective, and it's something that I try and give my institutional investors looking at Ukraine. And I think the positives are actually quite remarkable. I mean, if you just sit back and think, 2 years or more after Euromaidan, and despite huge, challenges, you've had annexation, you've had a revolution, you've had a foreign invasion of your country, you've had conflict and war. Despite that, there's been absolutely remarkable achievements. I'd say fiscal turnaround. I mean, I think you've probably got a slide projection of some notes that I made, but basically a huge fiscal adjustment from a 9% deficit to 3 to 4. Energy deficit that we all know Ukraine used to import 40 billion plus billion cubic meters of gas, probably down to 10 billion. The quasi-fiscal deficit related to Naftogaz has more or less been closed, or the deficit from Naftogaz has been closed, and it's reduced the quasi-fiscal deficit quite significantly. Now that's reduced your energy import cost from 10 to 12 billion dollars, 5-6 years ago, which was more or less equivalent to the current account deficit, to a couple of $1 billion, and it's helped this current account adjustments. So from again 5 years or so, where you were running current account deficit of 8 to 9% of GDP, probably down to 2 to 3% of GDP, and that's helped the exchange rate stabilization. So. It's remarkable, really, that your currency has been relatively stable. The central bank has been able to accumulate foreign exchange reserves from just $5 billion a year or so ago to 14 billion or thereabouts, close to 3 months of import cover, which is a critical level. And that's remarkable in that you didn't have any IMF disbursements for 13 months until the last disbursement. 13 months without any IMF money. And despite that, you managed to stabilize the exchange rate and build foreign exchange reserves. So, and that reflects, I think, underlying confidence. Essentially, the key driver there was not only the current account adjustment, but reverse currency substitution, as locals became more confident in the durability and the stability of the currency. Inflation has gone from 60% at the peak to maybe 6 to 8%, something like that. And this year, you know, again, Ukraine could grow. No, it is growing. We could see an end year number of 1% or so. Next year, it's possible to see 2 to 3. Yes, it's from a very low base, but growth is growth, and that's really, really encouraging. In terms of some of the structural reforms, you've got the Pro-Zoro procurement program that's been rolled out. It's going to see some significant benefits to the budget. We saw some tax reforms. More needs to be done, but a process start there. Police reforms, again, I think that's something significant ordinary people see some benefit from. Banking sector reform. The National Bank of Ukraine are heroes in my mind. Some people would dispute that, but I think closing 80 banks in an emerging market economy is a high-risk venture for the individuals who are doing it. And I think I view the banking sector now as not really posing significant systemic risk to the economy or to the budget, because it's been significantly cleaned up. Clearly, there are remaining problems around that one large privately owned systemic bank that needs to be resolved. I'm sure the IMF will be looking into that. But still, the changes in terms of banking have been remarkable. National bank reform, the administrative reforms that have been undertaken at the National Bank, again, incredible. And they need to get a huge amount of credit for that. So, you know, that's the positives for me. We have macro stability in Ukraine now. That's really important for institutional investors like my client base. It's also really important for foreign direct investors that potentially could come to country. It's the first thing they look at. They need to plan ahead, and being able to figure out what growth might be, what inflation might be, where the currency is going to be is really important. So in my mind, the stage has finally been set for growth and recovery. We need to, you know, big progress has been made, big achievements have been made in very difficult circumstances. The job needs to be completed, more needs to be done. The focus needs to be on structural reforms. Now, they're all very difficult. And I know things like fighting corruption, right-sizing public administration, reforming tax structure, welfare structure, pension reform, state-owned enterprise reform, privatization, land reform, completing banking sector. These are all difficult things. If you think of, you know, emerging Europe, you think of the countries like Poland, Hungary, Baltic states. I mean, they completed these reforms over the medium to long term, and they had the benefit of the EU accession anchor. Ukraine doesn't have that. So again, I think you need to set your expectations at a realistic level. Accept that this is a long process, relatively long process. Don't give up. It's painful. Various interests need to be taken on. But I think what we've seen so far, in terms of what has actually been achieved, those people that say Ukraine cannot succeed, I would say are totally wrong. You know, the experience in the last 2 years is this country has carried